Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? We just finished watching a Twitter Spaces from Ogre Abroad. Hope everyone's doing really well out there. That was amazing. I was not really able to jump on and do anything there, unfortunately. Although I kind of wanted to. Let me adjust my microphone a little bit here. So forgive me. There we go. I think we're back. We're back on it. So yeah, Ogre Abroad sounds like he's going to be doing some Twitter Spaces, maybe once a week. I think he's going to ultimately try to go for an evening time slot in U.S. time zones. But he didn't want to collide with anybody else, and so a daytime slot was really good. So I ended up hanging out there and watching for maybe the last hour or so. If you're not following Ogre Abroad, let me drop a message. Let's see. Put a little something down in here into the chat room for y'all. And someone else that y'all might want to be following here pretty soon, if not immediately, to make sure you get all your notifications for that. And so specifically in this case, Crypto Grady was on there, did a little bit of talking. I think a majority of the talking was done by either Ogre or, fortunately, Bullen was able to say quite a bit in there as well. So we're always interested in that. I don't know if any particular alpha was dropped today that wasn't on the AMA. So of course we also just came off of DeFi Kingdoms AMA a little while ago, and there was some good amount of information that was new and fresh. I do think that we got a little bit of new stuff there, but there was also several communities, and that's something that Ogre Abroad seems to be really geared towards, is building communities. He's mentioned that a couple of times, and so he's involved in several different crypto NFT type projects, and sounds like he's using these spaces to get in there and do a little bit more and kind of merge, maybe not merge, but introduce some people in some communities to other people in other communities that might not be too familiar with each other. And so as we see here, Lacey, which I think is Lazy Ape Club or Lazy Ape Yacht Club, DeFi Kingdoms, of course, Respected Rhinos, and ECTA Chain, I think are the four main groups that were represented today on the Twitter Spaces. And of course, I'm not familiar with any of the others. So it's kind of interesting to hear what they're doing. And then I think another Smash Marble or something was another team that got in there real quick. So it's very interesting. Something else that I guess I did get some new information on that I hadn't really heard of before, Ogre was mentioning, or I think Crypto Grady had asked something along the lines of, if there is not much, or what, if any, utility do we have for some of these NFTs and some of these other projects? And if there's not a whole lot of utility for some of these, perhaps like the Bored Ape Yacht Club started off to be just a JPEG image, right? Or an NFT. And what kind of utility is there? Well, of course, they've been growing since then, and I think they have been adding some utility, but it didn't start off that way. And so for me, I've been very skeptical, might not be quite the right word, but I don't have any interest in buying an NFT just for the artistic value of it. And so I think Crypto Grady probably feels the same way, at least to some extent, that I do. Maybe I don't want to put words into his mouth, but it sounded like he was asking, what if there what is the utility, if any? And if there's not much utility, can you describe to me why we might want some of these NFTs that don't really seem to have much utility? And Ogre actually answered in a really well thoughtful way that I hadn't considered myself. And he did mention that this was something that someone else mentioned to him recently, and he thought that this was really good. So I guess by word of mouth spreading, I guess I'm going to spread this a little bit further to my community here as well. And that is the fact that sometimes buying these NFTs, even if it is just a non-utilitarian or maybe seemingly non-utility NFT, that ultimately what it allows you to do is it allows you to get into a community, right? Or it helps you to be a member of a community, like the Bored Ape Yacht Club owners. Hey, isn't it cool to be an owner of this Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT or something? And so there are some communities that you kind of have to own an NFT to be a member of. And of course, that also might include access to parties or get-togethers or various other content. And Ogre was kind of comparing this to a fraternity or sorority or something like this, where you might have to pay to get in to these things originally, but then you possibly form a lifelong bond with some people. And again, one of the very specific stories that Ogre was mentioning was the fact that he kind of made fun of people in college who were joining these fraternities and sororities and maybe paying some money to do so. But then he was also mentioning that here, many, many years later, after he's adult and he's moved on to other things, then he recognizes that some of these people in these fraternities still have really good connections with those people. And of course, some of the people in those fraternities have done very well for themselves or gotten involved in other businesses or projects. And then to be able to connect or have an in with some of those people might be the difference between, are you going to get a great job in one of these other places or not? So imagine someone in that fraternity, ultimately going along to create Facebook or Google or something like that. And if you had formed a pretty good bond with these people, this group of people in your college days, and you're still holding on to those friends. I remember some communities that I was starting back in right after high school, and I started a business that was kind of a social club, and it was in the early 90s, before the internet was really taking off big. We had a collection of what's called BBSs, or bulletin board services, where someone could dial your home phone number or a phone number to get access to your computer in your house. And I was fortunate enough to be able to start a small business where I had 20 phone lines coming into my house, all connected to this computer and to a chat system. And again, this was the very early 90s that I was doing this. So there wasn't really a lot of internet connectivity at the time. Not a lot of people were into that. Of course, we didn't even have web browsers back then to browse the web, although we did have some text-based tools for email and some forums or news groups. Anyway, the point is that those people way back then in the 90s that I connected with and I formed some bonds with through this social group, a business that was kind of a social group business, I'm still in connectivity with them today. And we're not quite as tight now as it was back in the early 90s, but we do still have a Facebook page or a group where a lot of us share information back and forth between each other. I still have a lot of friends from back there. And when I see that they're doing good or they're doing things or having projects, I oftentimes like to support them in those projects continually. And so that's what Ogre was trying to say here as well, is that he was noticing all these people from the fraternity that he had back then were making friends or had these friend connections, and just being a member of that community over an extended period of time has had some benefit. And not that anyone would be trying to take advantage of that necessarily, but you might be able to get some insight from some friends and these connections that you might not have had otherwise. If one of them has a business where they might have some openings, they might be more likely to bring on someone they know into their business, hire them on, rather than some random person that's just supplied a resume or something like that. And I know for me personally, I rent out a little kind of like a tiny house type thing. It's a little cabin on the property here too, where kind of like a room rental. And the first time, or one of the very first things when that room becomes vacant, I generally ask my friends, "Hey, do y'all know anybody? Do either you have anyone that you know that would want to rent a room, or do you know anybody that would want to rent a room?" And so part of the advantage there could be that people that know me and have connected to me might get first dibs on this room, this little cabin that I'm renting out. And so when we expand that to these NFT collections, then maybe owning one of these NFTs would be part of that as well, right? And Mystical Meow says, "I thought you were selling your BD." I was for a while. And I was listening to a stream, and then it got branched off into another stream. And I had an opportunity to take a little break from that for a little bit. I do plan to get to that soon, probably in about 10 or 15 minutes. I'll probably get back and hop offline, but I did want to hop online for just a little bit and say hi to everybody since we had just gotten off of the DFK AMA, which I definitely wanted to talk about here, and then also Ogre Abroad's very good spaces. I think he's going to be starting that up, and I wanted to talk about that as well. So, but yeah, definitely doing birthday stuff a little bit, most of the day today, and I wanted to but hop on here for a minute. So, like I said, owning some of these NFTs that might not necessarily be very, they might not seem to have a lot of utility at the beginning. I think because of Ogre's messaging and his experience and his description of how that could be very helpful, it really did open my eyes to maybe some additional benefit for being a member of some of these communities that we might not think of as necessarily having a lot of utility at the moment, right? Jackamach, let's see. Happy B-Day. I will try to jump on more of your streams. Absolutely. I'm glad that you were here right now. We're probably not going to, I don't know how long you've been listening or how long you've been here. We're probably not going to keep this stream going up too much longer. I think if you know me at all, you know that sometimes my streams are about 3 hours long and generally ending at about 5 o'clock, which is in about 15 minutes or so. But, and it's my birthday today, so I wasn't really planning to do anything at all. I just happened to have a little bit of an opportunity to jump on here. But happy to have you around, absolutely. And where do you come from? How did you hear about the stream? Good, I have to get back to work, but yes, seeing you on normal long streams, absolutely. Yeah, and feel free, get back to work. We're not going to be on this stream much longer ourselves. I'm not sure if there's a whole lot of alpha to drop, although tomorrow we're definitely going to be talking about all the alpha that was dropped on the DeFi Kingdoms AMA today. If you haven't seen the DeFi Kingdoms AMA for today, definitely check that out, and we're going to be discussing the details of some of that and what that means on tomorrow's stream. So if you want to look over the AMA, form some questions, then and then just be a part of that and to listen to some of the insight that several of our other people have gathered from it, that could be really good too. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, thanks for dropping by. And yeah, Crypto Grady, Sergeant Filthy McNasty, absolutely. Other great content providers that I love and always enjoy when we all get together and kind of share our communities and all this kind of stuff. So also, if you were not aware of Ogre Abroad, let me hop do one more time. I did this earlier, but maybe not very many people were in chat at the time. I'm going to drop his link one more time here. And he's going to be doing regular spaces, Twitter spaces, which I'll admit I had no idea how to follow, or I shouldn't say follow. I had no idea how to talk or to interact with them at all. But maybe I'll learn how to do that in the next couple of days. But if he's going to be doing weekly Twitter spaces, seems to be a lot of good information in there. Maybe we can pass that on as well. I think that'll be really cool. So another content provider now giving really good, interesting DFK stuff for us. Very cool. And having said that, I think I'm going to jump off right now as well. Just wanted to do a short little stream, mention a couple of things here. We are going to pick back up with our normal streams tomorrow, but since it is my birthday, I wanted to just say hi, and won't be sticking around very long right now. So, guys, thanks a lot for stopping by. I will see y'all tomorrow. Until then, rock out.